Welcome to Fresh Plans, a Facebook Messenger bot built at the GovHack 2016 Data Hackathon weekend. GovHack has grown from a small data mashup event in 2009 to an international competition that brings over 1,800 people together to apply their creative skills to open government data over the course of a 46-hour hackathon weekend. Open data is on the menu for a collection of tech and non-tech participants alike. We form teams and spend all the waking hours of the weekend to produce products from open government data. These products are aimed at two objectives: help people unlock the value from open government data and qualify to win a wide range of prizes and bounties from government and private sponsors. How do you data hack? This is how my team, the Yakkity Hacks, made Fresh Plans. Friday night we formed a team and started by getting all our weird and wonderful ideas up on the wall. Each framed as a problem that could be solved with data. Didn't matter how large or small they were. We walked through each idea, asking questions and digging into what they were. Then we got critical and we started cutting. We debated and voted through many rounds. Then we killed our ideas one by one, consigning them to the ideas graveyard on the floor. Finally, we arrived at one idea that the team was all behind. We had our problem to solve. Then it was time to get direction for our idea. We needed user stories. Before any code was written or data analysed, we debated and discussed who we were solving for and why it mattered. We didn't move on anything else until these were done. Over the course of the weekend, hundreds of decisions needed to be made for the product we were building. We didn't have time to discuss them as a team, so we continually fell back on our user stories on the wall to guide us. They kept our product focused and consistent, even though we were often all working on individual parts by ourselves. After we had our idea and our user story solid, we went out and consulted with the government and private industry mentors that were at the event. We took them through our ideas and asked them if we were on the right track. From our discussions, we validated most of what we still had, but we still ended up changing a few things based on their feedback. In many cases, they had a much deeper understanding of the problem and of our potential users, so their input proved invaluable. Why do you think our problem is worth solving?
I think your app's really important because there's a weakness out there and a lack of knowledge out there about developments. It's pretty important to people whenever developments come up, particularly in West End or things where there's a really strong community, there's an immediate backlash. But if you actually gave people more information up front about things and made that information accessible in this social media age that we have, then that would be really powerful.
Yeah.
And perhaps have a less negative effect. From local government planning, certainly people want to be aware of which people are the most likely to embrace new developments and where there's an actual need for a community to be reinvented. And even when a community has gone through a great reinvention process, what people can look at next. I think that's important.
How can Fresh Plans benefit government?
So whenever property developments come into play, the different demographics of an area change. We can see that in our data coming through earlier, but it's an opportunity for the broader government to just be aware that developments are happening, I suppose. So we all live in bubbles. Every government department lives in a bubble, and certainly knowing that those things are available will allow us to look at more opportunities of how we can benefit in other infrastructure capacities.
What do you think of our solution to this problem?
Your app is very interesting from the point of view that you've taken what effectively is a process that occurs between developers and councils and governments and brought in the human element of the neighbourhood, people's opinions, and obviously that could be perceived as a negative, but actually in fact it's a positive, because quite often people will not deny development, but they want to make sure that development is in keeping with their local area and that it makes sense for what happens in the area, and it fits with the vibe. And I think you guys are onto something very clever in that space, and I think it's something that hasn't been looked at previously, and I think it's something that will become more and more appropriate as technology and generations move forward.
How do you think Fresh Plans benefits government and the community?
I think that the government misses the point that a lot of people aren't anti-development. They are anti-development because they lack a voice or they don't understand what's about to happen, and fear is something that is hard to manage. With your application or the idea that you're pursuing, is that will give people the chance to have a voice, to be more a part of the development and not feel like they're being left out, kept in the dark for nefarious reasons. And in most cases, it's not nefarious, it's just that there hasn't been an opportunity or a platform to collaborate.
After all that, we got stuck into building our product. Our main goal was to build something that clearly explained the value of our product to our target audience. We weren't focused on getting something working. We first and foremost worked to get the structure and logic of our product right, and for it to be able to be instantly understood by our target users. Only when this was right could fresh plans be accurately validated by them as something that solved their problems. Even though it wasn't our main focus, we did build something that worked as well, and we used the Facebook Messenger platform to do it fast. We didn't waste a lot of time building the interface elements, and instead we got straight to building what our unique value was. The Facebook platform offered another advantage too. Because it's so widely used, anyone is able to pick up fresh plans and instantly know how to interact with it, thus lowering the barrier between them and our core value proposition. But most of all, it was a complete blast working together with a group of fun and intelligent people over a weekend to produce something that we were really proud of. Getting something from idea all the way through to solution under time constraints is exciting, more than stressful, and we certainly tapped into this energy over the course of the weekend.
I had a question about a development in my street. Even though I could find the information, it took me a very long time. I was wondering if there's a better way.
The current situation is too confusing. All the data is available, but you need to know exactly what you want to find to use it. We want to make discovering and exploring development information that is relevant to you much, much easier. We want to make it easier for residents, government, planners, and developers to start a conversation around individual developments. Development data is all available online right now, but it isn't easy to explore. Even though the searching process is fairly streamlined and responsive, you need to know exactly what you need to find. The information is locked behind a series of forms and web pages. Much of it is in PDF documents which you have to individually view. That's if you are lucky. Often the information isn't even that well organised for someone who doesn't know what they're looking for. Some development data is just in large tables which you need to search or download and analyse yourself. It's information overload for this sort of data, and that's not encouraging at all for people wanting to explore what's happening in their local area who aren't data analysts or at least data analysis curious. Some data is available via interactive map tools which you use to target the areas you are interested in. This is a better experience than looking at tables of data online. However, it's still a lot of information to process, even with being able to focus in on particular areas. This type of information is quite dense in the map itself. Interacting with the tool requires your full attention as there's a lot to process even when you're zoomed in. It's not easily accessible for the average resident. Right after we decided on what our idea and problem was, and before we did anything else, we worked on understanding what our product was. We came up with questions we wanted to find answers for. These questions we thought were important not just for us, but for others too. We came up with actions that we wanted to build something to perform. Actions that solve for our problem and would, hopefully, delight our users. We had lots more questions and actions than we could possibly tackle in the time we had. We selected those which we thought were the core product, and these became our design guidelines moving forward. But we didn't discard completely the questions and actions we didn't build for. These, along with our core design, formed the larger narrative of what our product could be in the future, and they were key to explaining what we were building and why we were building it to others. Together, they were our product's own personal story. Our product was beginning to take shape, and while some of the team split off and started on building, the rest of the team started on user stories. These user stories helped us decide exactly what we wanted our finished product to look like and to do. We used them constantly throughout the weekend to combat the ever-present scope creep that happens in any project, to make sure that we weren't adding anything that didn't serve our final product. Taking what we'd come up with as our core questions and answers, we produced 5 user stories for fresh plans. These really clarified who our product was for and what problems it solved for them. 3 user stories were for residents, 2 as individuals and 1 for a community of residents. 1 user story was for town planners and 1 was for government. Whilst all levels of government are responsible for development in some way or another, we thought that this was most likely going to be used by councils. We realised that we couldn't build something to solve for all these problems. Initially, we decided to solve for the 2 user stories for individual residents and the user story for a community of residents. Later on, we cut that even further and decided to focus on building for one of the individual residents' user story only. The user story that Fresh Plans Messenger bot was built for is, as a resident, I want to be able to find out about what developments are happening in my area. A large part of delivering as much as we did at GovHack was down to deciding to deliver so little of what we had available from the planning and designing.
Fresh Plans is a conversation between the community, government and planners about development data. We built a Facebook Messenger chatbot so that you could explore the development information that's the most relevant to you in a natural and familiar way.
The idea that started Fresh Plans emerged from a literal wall of competing ideas that the team came up with on Friday night. It is the combination of 2 separate ideas that were eventually merged together. The first idea was about a problem that exists with development data. The data is readily available, but it's hard to access, and it's very hard to simply explore and learn what's happening in this space for a resident. There were a few creative ways we thought we could make this data more engaging, using things like augmented reality and location-based notifications. The second part was about finding a problem to solve with a chatbot. We'd seen this interface used in other places to access data sources and thought this was an interesting way to explore data sets. We had some ideas about using location as the starting reference for a user, so this led us to think about data directly relating to the location the user was in. Both ideas ended up being popular during the culling process. Towards the end, we realised they were very complementary and decided to combine them into one idea. That combination ended up being the idea we decided to pursue as our GovHack project. The name for our project had its roots in a joke amongst the team. We were tossing around ideas about what the data was, which is development planning documents, and what we wanted to do with it, which was make it exciting for people to access. We joked that we needed to make this very dry information cool, sort of like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. After the initial laughter had died down, the idea stuck around, so we thought about how to use it. Someone brought up the old Mentos Fresh Maker commercials. In these, something uncool is made cool and fresh with Mentos mints. Fresh Plans was born because we get you the freshest planning documents in a fresh new way. Fresh Plans. So fresh. Facebook Messenger bots are apps that are built to operate solely within the Messenger platform. Think of the message thread as your app. Messenger gives you the real estate and the tools to customize your experience. You have access to templates and a send and receive API that works with text, images, and call to action elements. You also have access to a natural language processing API via the wit.ai bot engine. Now, the wit.ai bot engine effectively turns natural language that it receives from conversations into structured data. You use this data to train and evolve your bot so it can automatically chat with users. Combined with all of this, Messenger is a ready-made market and platform all in one. The Messenger app exists nearly everywhere, including iOS, Android, and the web, and it's used by nearly 900 million people every month. Let's look at some examples of bots that are on Messenger now to see how this functionality can be used. 1-800-Flowers have built a Messenger bot by taking the purchase process from their website and using that, and only that, to build the Messenger bot. Now, as you're using it, what you notice is that it doesn't feel like you're interacting with the website in another way. Instead, it really more like you're in a store, going back and forth, picking out products, and then getting the details for how you want them to be delivered, when and where and who to. And in this way, I think this is a really good application for the Messenger Pro platform, because it really does get into the strengths of what Messenger offers, which is that back and forth. The CNN Messenger bot allows you to search and discover content from CNN. So basically, what you're doing is you're telling CNN what you're interested in, And then CNN's trying to answer that with content from CNN. It'll also try and learn over time what you're interested in and then serve that content up to you. Now, the interesting thing here is this is the opposite to what CNN does on all its other content platforms. On all its other content platforms, they're serving the content up they think you'd like, whereas here, the relationship is reversed because you're asking CNN directly questions about the things you like, and then they're trying to answer those questions with their content. And so that's really interesting on one hand, but on the other hand, it's not so interesting because this is basically a web search engine. Engines do. And unfortunately, it's a much less featured web search engine because it's only using CNN content. Hi Poncho is a weather information service as a messenger bot. You just ask your friendly weather cat, Poncho, what the weather's going to be like. And you'll get an answer based on your current. You can also get some forecasts as well. Now, if you specify a location, it'll give you the weather information for there. And for US locations, you can get a forecast for pollen as well as Poncho's own forecast for your hair. Now, where the service really starts to shine for me is answering questions that weather data can contribute to, but are not necessarily questions about weather metrics. Hi Poncho has taken a simple but rich data set that's weather information, and it's let you just define the context of how you want to consume it. Now, lots of weather services pack heaps of information into a small space. Here, the information is gradually revealed as you request it, and it lets you thoughtfully consume it. Hi Poncho is giving me answers I can do something with using the weather data, but it's never hiding that weather data either. There's also some fun little Easter eggs littered throughout the service that have clearly had some considered thought put into them. Fresh Plans is a Facebook Messenger bot that you can use to search for and engage with development planning information. Now, it's a proof of concept at the moment, so it's not fully featured, but it's still hooked up to real data. So what you do is you give Fresh Plans a location, and it will return all the development applications in and around that location to you. And then all you do from there is whatever you're interested in, you can hit more info, and it'll give you some information about that development application. And if you want even more information, you can go out to the website to access a lot more detailed information, including the planning documents themselves. Now, if you want to leave an official comment about that development application, you can just access that directly from here, and it'll take you to the official form to lodge a comment. Or if you just want to stay up to date with what's happening with this development, you can subscribe for updates. Now, what we think is really cool about FreshPlans as a messenger bot is that because it is available via a messenger bot, it means you can use it in lots of interesting ways. Ways that people don't normally engage with development information right now. So, for an example, say if you're looking around for houses to rent, but you want to know if there's going to be any major renovations or building around the places which you're looking at. And this might be really important to you because you might be really sensitive to noise and dust. And another use case is that say you are driving through or visiting a place you've never been before, and you think to yourself, geez, this is a place that I could see myself living at one stage. But the problem is that there's not really the housing here at the moment that's right for me. I wonder if future development which is planned. Using FreshPlans, you can find that out. And also, you can subscribe for updates to keep updated about how those applications are progressing. So we think this particularly is a great use case for encouraging awareness about new areas that are being developed. Right now, FreshPlans is a very basic prototype, but there's interesting and exciting things it can do in the future. Let's explore a few of those now, just for fun. In the future, FreshPlans will use your device's camera, along with augmented reality technology, to bring up a visualization of a proposed development as it would look in the physical location it's being proposed for. This will enable people to really see what the impact a development will have on the area and spend some time walking around it to really get a feel for what the developers have in mind for a space. Currently, we have government, developers and planners interacting with people one-on-one through FreshPlans. In the future, FreshPlans will enable people to be able to connect with other residents that are also affected by a development and communicate as a group with government, developers and planners, as well as communicate with each other. At present, the development planning process is top-down. A development plan is created and then it's taken out to the community for consultation. Once that development gets the green light from the community, you can begin building. In the future, through FreshPlans, the community's needs and wants can be used to formulate lots of development plans and then refine the most popular ones. Work can then commence immediately on these developments. At the State Awards presentation night, FreshPlans was lucky enough to pick up first place in the Supporting the Best of Brisbane, which was sponsored by River City Labs. This award was for the best entry from the 3 Brisbane nodes that GovHack ran in 2016. It didn't relate to any particular dataset use, instead it was a technical prize. FreshPlans also got an honourable mention for the best innovative use of datasets, which was sponsored by the University of Queensland School of Information Technology and Electrical Engineering. This was awarded to, as the name suggests, the best innovative use of open government datasets. It didn't relate to any particular dataset use, instead it was a theme prize. The winner of this award was Unveil the Scene, who pretty much stole the show by winning 6 awards in total. Whilst prizes are nice, what was even nicer was catching up with the team and hanging out once again with GovHackers. They're a pretty good bunch. The production and all the good voiceovers in this video were made possible by the talents of Reuben Aptroot. Reuben is an up-and-coming video and music producer. Along with currently studying music at QUT, Reuben has mixed and produced both music videos and albums for his own musical projects and other people's. Reuben is a man of many talents, and although he has formerly studied audio engineering at SAE, he has learnt most of his audio and video skills by making and releasing content. Now, you can find examples of this content on YouTube and SoundCloud from all the bands he's currently a member of, who are Ultra Freedy, Hawkmoon and Playboy Millionaire. Reuben plays guitar and is on vocals in all three, and you can catch them playing in venues around Brisbane now. Reuben has also been working at Brisbane radio station 4ZZZ, doing live music recording and mixing for various local and international acts. He's been to all sorts of venues and recently covered the Big Sound Festival for 4ZZZ. He's covered a very wide range of musical acts in the course of doing this, and you can listen to the live sets he's recorded and mixed on 4ZZZ and on SoundCloud. Reuben is a young professional making his way in this industry. And if you've loved this video as much as I have, then you can hit him up on his LinkedIn page, check out his YouTube account, and get his SoundCloud playlists up on repeat.